We are into a series called Made for the Human Race. This is part 6. We are on the slippery slope down. Next week we'll close this series out and then we'll be giving you a brand new series. But who has loved this series? I want to thank Sam especially for this series because I don't know about you, but I have felt, it's a hard one to put into words, but I just think it's really good to know that Jesus was actually human once as well, and so he gets it. And so that's what this series has really done. It's really awakened that closeness of a relationship with him. And so I really do want to thank Sam for really giving birth to this series and preaching the whole series. And Sam and Kirst, our lead pastors, can we give it up to our lead pastor? I think they are smashing it as lead pastors. We, your team, appreciate you. We really do. Your team loves you. It's an honour to serve you with this vision that you have. It's hectic vision. They're on fire. They are very stirred all the time. I love our meetings with them. And your church family and your team just want to honour you, and thank you so much, guys, for and thank you for gifting me tonight. Didn't come without a cost. There was a few phone calls. I don't know if the voice is not going to hold out. But thank you, guys. Thank you for believing in me. As I said, part 6 of Made for the Human Race. And what I said before, what I love about this series is, and the idea behind this series is that Jesus was a human, and so he relates to being a human, like he gets it. He relates to being human because he actually was a human. He's not just up there. He did come to earth and he was human. So he understands what that takes, and he understands pain. He knows pain, he knows grief, he knows physical pain, he understands hurt because he felt all of these as well. And he also understands free will because he had a free will as well. And just as you and I have a free will, so did Jesus. And sometimes Jesus didn't want to do everything that was required of him, just as you and I don't want to do always the bestest best thing for our lives. We don't always want to choose that and do that. And sometimes neither did Jesus. I love that story before he went to the cross where he just said, Father, if you've got a plan B, now would be good because I don't want to go through with this, So Jesus really does understand a free will and he understands choice. And one of the things that I love what Jesus did as an example is that he chose to withdraw and he chose to connect with God often. Because he had a free will, and the best way to get your free will, I guess, in order, perhaps, is to withdraw and just go. It says in the Bible in Luke 5:16, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and he prayed. And he had to choose this. He chose to just withdraw, to unplug, to put this down, just to unplug and just withdraw, get away from his family, get away from disciples were his family, and just sit and chat to God. There's a story found in John 6, and I want to take you on this little adventure, hopefully tonight. We want to start here with the story, and it goes on a few different little trails, and hopefully we'll end up over here somewhere. And it's a story that is very, very similar to one that Sam shared a couple of weeks ago where Jesus feeds 5,000 people. The one that Sam spoke about was similar but different. And so I just want to read some of it out, and I'm going to start in verse 8 of John 6, and we'll start in verse 8. But before I get to there, I just want to give a bit of a background. Again, there's a crowd, like Sam was speaking about a couple of weeks ago, and for those of you that don't know, but there was a crowd of people. They found Jesus. He'd been talking to them all day. They were starting to get hungry, and Jesus had compassion on them and empathy, and he didn't want them to go away hungry because he was thinking they've not eaten all day. He didn't want them to faint. He wanted them to make the trip back home. So he had empathy on them. And so when we pick up this story, they're thinking, we're in this place, how are we going to do this? There's no food. Like, what are we going to do? So they're in this discussion, Jesus and the disciples, and it goes, we'll pick it up in verse 8, and it says this, but just then, Andrew, Peter's brother, spoke up and said, look, here's a young boy with 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far would that go with this huge crowd? And then Jesus said, have everyone sit down. And so on this vast grassy slope, more than 5,000 hungry people sat down. Jesus then took the barley loaves and the fish, gave thanks to God. He then gave it to the disciples to distribute to the people. Miraculously, the food multiplied, with everyone eating as much as they wanted. When everyone was satisfied, and that's a point that I really want to draw out of this. There's many places that you could go with this story, but this is one I want to pick out of it, is that they were satisfied. When everyone was satisfied, Jesus told his disciples, now go back, gather up the pieces left over so that nothing will be wasted. And the disciples filled up 12 baskets of fragments and a basket of leftovers and gave them to each disciple. So on this grassy slope, and out of a small amount of bread and fish, there was ample. There was a miracle. And everyone ate till they were satisfied. And you know, I was looking at this word satisfied. I know Sam touched on this as well. And this is what the word satisfied means. It says you're content. You don't need anything more. You're pleased, you're fulfilled, and you're happy. That's a nice place to be in. You are satisfied. You're not up here, you're not down here, you're just this nice little even ground. You are satisfied, you're happy. And so then the story continues on until the next day. This same group of people got up and they were looking for Jesus. And so through the night, they were on the side of a lake. Through the night, the disciples crossed the lake by boat. Jesus opted to cross the lake by foot. He walked on the water. That's that story. So the disciples crossed to the other side of the lake by boat. And so this crowd gets up the next morning going, where's Jesus? Where is everybody? We want to find Jesus again. And then they're looking around, they find all these boats. So they're thinking, I think he's crossed to the other side. So they all jump in, this massive big crowd. That's a lot of boats. But they all jump in and they get to the other side and they finally find Jesus. And so there they are, they found Jesus and they're having another little chat to Jesus. And then they're asking Jesus a lot of questions, and then this is how Jesus responds to them. We'll go to verse 26. And Jesus says, let me make this very clear. You came looking for me because I fed you by a miracle. You were satisfied. You're not looking for me because you believe in me. Why would you strive for food that is perishable and not be passionate to seek the food of eternal life which never spoils? I, the Son of Man, am ready to give you what matters most. For God the Father has destined me for this purpose. So here's what I believe has happened. The satisfaction that they found, that they experienced yesterday, has now worn off. And so they're desperately looking for Jesus because they want that same feeling again. They were satisfied and they want to get up the next day and it worn off and they're like, I need this again. I want this satisfaction back. And so then Jesus is trying to tell them what you really are looking for is me. Because what you experienced yesterday was just short-term satisfaction. And it's worn off. But what you really are looking for, whether you know it or not, it's actually me. True, long-lasting, never failing, ever-present, deep soul satisfaction comes only from Jesus. And in today's world, where there's all this distraction, where we've got iPhones and we've got these things and we've got screens and we've got computers and we've got all of these things. We've got sex, drugs, rock and roll, and yes, all of that will give you satisfaction. All of it will. But it's not going to last. It's temporary. Food is temporary. It's not going to last. But yes, it's satisfying. Yes, it's good to do some things. But it will wear off. And you'll be like these people, you'll go looking for that thing the next day again, just like these group of people did. And Jesus gets that because he was human as well, remember. And so his solution is him. It's him. That's why he came. That's what we're here for. It is him. Deep satisfaction is a relationship with him first and foremost. That's just number one. Deep soul satisfaction is a relationship with Jesus. And then in the relationship, it's the withdrawing, it's the pulling away, it's putting these things down, and it's just getting away as often as you can, and it's just chatting to God in the relationship that you now have. Just pull away, just withdraw, just as often as you can, like what Jesus did. It's connecting as often as you can. And then when you do that, be all in. Give him your full access. Sam made me up a little lanyard. Give Jesus a lanyard that says full access written on it. Give him permission to access all of your life. All of the parts, the dark parts, the shady parts, the after hours parts, the stupid parts, the hurt parts, the grief parts, the pain parts. You get the picture parts. I've just done that round the wrong way. Give him permission, full access, like a backstage pass that you get if you're ever lucky enough to go to a concert and get backstage. Never done it, but anyways. But give him the lanyard that says you've got full access. I give you permission to access all of the parts, the embarrassing parts, everything. And my testimony is this, is that once I gave him my full access lanyard, once I truly just gave him it's all yours and withdrew as often as I could, then bit by bit, the short-term satisfaction, it just lost its grip. It loosened, and the desire for that short-term fix, that short-term satisfaction, it just lost its grip on me. And then Jesus came, the full satisfaction that my soul was really craving. That's the full satisfaction, and that's my testimony. As soon as I gave him full access and choose to do it, I choose to give Jesus full access all the time, every day, bit by bit, all the other stuff, it just doesn't matter anymore. And it loosened its grip. It wasn't a miracle. It just was a little bit by little bit. It just lost its power, lost its grip on me. This story in the Bible continues, and I must confess it does go a little bit weird. Jesus is telling this same crowd, he's still chatting to this crowd, and he's telling them that, you know, what you ate yesterday, yes, it was bread, yes, you were satisfied. And he's having this conversation with them to say, I am the bread of life. I am the true bread of life. What you had yesterday will wear off. I am the true bread of life. And look, you know, it does get a little bit weird, but let's pick it up in verse 53, and it says, Jesus replied to them, listen to this eternal truth. Unless you eat the body of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you will not have eternal life. Eternal life comes to the one who eats my flesh and drinks my blood. And I will raise him up in the last day. For my body is real food for your spirit, and my blood is real drink. The one who eats my flesh and drinks my blood lives in me, and I in him. Like, let's be honest, it's weird, right? Eat my flesh, drink my blood. It's kind of weird. Well, the people that were gathered that finally found him thought it was a bit weird too, and a little bit too much. And the same group of people just yesterday, they witnessed this high of a miracle and they were satisfied. This same group of people who got up the next day desperate to find Jesus, yep, those ones, because they wanted to experience that satisfaction again. This same group of people, the same group that crossed a lake, the same group that hunted down Jesus, the same group that was so desperate to find Jesus, the very next day, as soon as they heard something that they did not want to hear, they left. They walked away. Many, many deserted Jesus that day. Many walked off because they didn't like what Jesus had to say. I think that's crazy, right? I don't know, is it just me? I sort of think that's a bit crazy. I sort of think that's a little bit, are you kidding? How can you be desperate 1 minute and then just go, well, that's weird, and walk off? And yeah, it's a bit weird, but, Jesus wasn't about to cut off his arm and go, there you go, eat my flesh. I think you got to just take it, lighten up, for starters, but they left. And how can you be one way 1 minute and then just do a 360 and go this way the next? I tried walking off on Jesus and I just think, really? I really wouldn't recommend it. I just don't recommend it. And I just wonder, perhaps, what happened with this group of people. Just a thought, I was just wondering as I'm reading through this context, were they really just ready to give Jesus their full access lanyard? Perhaps they really were just after the short-term satisfaction. Just give me the quick fix, Jesus. I just want that thing that I experienced yesterday, just the bread. Just give me that bit. I just want the short-term satisfaction. I'm not in it for the full access long-haul thingy you're talking about. That's just gone weird now, and you're just, nah. I just want the short-term fix. That's just my thought. That's just my take on it. And I think, you know what? We have a choice. We have a choice. Sam spoke about choices last week. We all have a choice in life. We can choose to give Jesus 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever percentage you want to shout out at me, whatever percentage we can choose, whatever it is, to access. We can choose Jesus. If we're going to choose a relationship with Jesus, we can just go, I'll let you in this much. I'll give you access to 30% of my life. I'll give you access to 50% of my life, but none of that. But I think the problem with that is if we choose that option, I really just think, well, then we'll be becoming like those people that get hurt and then they get offended and then they completely walk off from church. They completely walk off from Jesus. They ditch the relationship with Jesus because as soon as there was something said that didn't line up to what they thought or they didn't get the answer that they were praying about, they walked off. Just a thought. Because, hearing something like eat my flesh, drink my blood is weird. And it is. But there's going to be many things in this relationship that just kind of are like a bit hard to hear. And maybe we don't get the answers that we want all the time. But I don't know, for me, I've tried many ways and I'm all in. I'm just, thanks Barb. I'm all in. I'm just giving Jesus full access. Because if I only do percentages, I don't want to be offended and walk off. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to be that touchy. I love my church. And has it got its flaws and faults? Yes, it does. Show me a church that doesn't. Has Jesus, asking me things that are going to be a little bit hard to take? Yes. But I want full access. I want to give him my full access. And yeah, you know what? Eat my blood, drink my flesh. Eat my flesh, drink my blood, whatever. Sign me up, full access. You're so quiet tonight. And maybe in this all-in full access lanyard, sometimes that just might require to get out of a boat in the middle of a storm. That's what a full access kind of thing might just happen to look like. But I would rather get out of a boat and get into a storm and then sink, but knowing that Jesus is right there to grab hold of me and go, I have got you. You are not going to sink and you will get through that. But if I only give Jesus 30 or 40%, I'll never get out of the boat in the first place. I'd much rather get out of the boat. I'd much rather give him the full access. I would just much rather get out of the boat and sink, make a real muck up of it. I would much rather get up here tonight and preach, and maybe my voice would have given way. I don't care. I'm full access. It doesn't matter. It's full access. It doesn't matter what happens. Get out of the boat when he says get out of the boat. And yes, you might sink, but he's right there to grab you and go, I have got you. I have got you. You're not going to sink. You're going to get through this. You're going to get to the other side. You will not drown in this storm. Maybe the full access lanyard will require a little bit of obedience. When I've been fishing all night I have been fishing and caught not one thing. All night. And I'm weary and I'm tired and I'm frustrated. I'm ticked off because all night I've stayed up all night, and for what? Nothing. I've caught not one thing. And then I get to the shore and then there's Jesus standing there and he goes, get back in your boat and go out again. And you're like, are you kidding me? I have been fishing all night, Jesus, and I've caught nothing. And you want me to get back in the boat and go out? And he goes, get back in the boat and go out. I'd rather get back in the boat, be obedient, go back out. And who knows, how about a harvest coming because I just went back in the boat and I dropped my net this side and then the harvest is so big I can't even pull it in. Sign me up for that relationship. Sign me up for that. Oh, I'd rather be a little bit tired and a little bit weary, and I would rather do that than a percentage of living with Jesus. I want all in. I don't know about you, and I'm hoping this inspires you to go all in. Jesus knows that you might get a bit tired, and he knows he's asking something of you that you just think, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I have tried that. I have given to this church and they say that you give but nothing's come back. Try again. Get back up again. Maybe that relationship didn't work, but try again. Get back up again and try again. The band can come up. As I wrap up tonight, and we go into worship, can we just be a people that just go over a few things? First and foremost, this whole thing with Jesus, a relationship is what matters the most. It's not the short-term satisfaction. It's the relationship with Jesus that deep down on the inside, the drawing, the I don't get it, and so no, sometimes it doesn't make sense, but a relationship with Jesus has saved my sorry backside. And it's given me a peace that surpasses everything that I go through. And then in that relationship, just pull away as often as you can. Just withdraw as often as you can. Just as often as you can. Pull away and withdraw and just put your phone down. Just stop scrolling for a moment and just chat to God. And then don't forget the lanyard. Just let him in. All of the parts, all of the shady parts, all of the embarrassing things. Let him in. Full access. I think my testimony is that that's the best way to live. Thanks, church. It's a real honour that I could come tonight and give this message, I really pray that it really awakens something deep within your hearts, within your soul tonight. So thank you. Let's worship with everything that we've got tonight. Thank you, church.